I've been following Seth Godin since I saw his TED Talk in 2007, nearly 20 years ago. Back then he was talking about the decline of the TV industrial complex and the importance of being remarkable in the internet age. His views are more relevant than ever now, particularly in the age of AI hype, where everything is increasingly generic. So when I saw him talking about screen sharing on Zoom, I had to talk about it. Welcome to Square's TV App Lab number 129, where I show you how to use the tools I've created to look better on video. I'm Michael Forrest and I make Video Pencil, Shoot and CueCam Presenter. It's just me designing, coding, making videos, live streaming, and talking to you. I'm a company of one person, so I made these tools so I can concentrate on my job instead of editing videos all day long. This is all CueCam, by the way. This stream comes live with no eCam, no OBS, no Keynote, no audio hijack, and no audio loopback, and absolutely no flipping NDI. It's all just coming out my own app, CueCam Presenter. So let's start with some updates. And I am noticing some effects of this, but one thing to mention is I am recovering from a bit of food poisoning. I had the pleasure of getting sick at 1 a.m. in an airport hotel room in Belgium a couple of days ago. We had to get up at 5 a.m. Things did not get any better once we were on the plane. I did, on the trip out, I noted, I was like, God, they don't even, on Ryanair, which is like the budget British airline, actually Irish, but they don't even have the little kind of things in the backs of the chairs with the magazines in. So I was like, oh, I guess they just don't give you sick bags on planes anymore. I literally commented on that on the way out. And then on the way back, I was like, I'm going to have to ask for sick bags. And I used more than one, which I've never done in my life. So it's too much information. But anyway, if I'm not quite as articulate as I'd like to be, I will make that excuse. But we're going to prevail, and we're not going to make any excuses because that's not what we're about. But you will hopefully forgive me if I'm like. So in terms of updates, we're chipping away at the Zoom thing. Hi Tony, hi Philip. Welcome back. Always good to see you both. But yeah, with the Zoom thing, still not quite ready to share. There's been a bit back and forth, just trying to sort of like make sure the tester can get it working. It's weird because I need to submit it so that I can get anyone else to look at it. So it means that the tester within Zoom that is like reviewing it has to sort of do some fairly like basic testing that I'm just not able to do with anyone else yet. So it's slightly weird. But hopefully soon I'll have some updates on that. For Video Pencil, I have been focusing on this football pack. And despite being ill actually yesterday, I managed to get some sort of basic player tracking to work yesterday. So maybe I'll just load in a video, right? So this is like this little sample video that I've got. Something's going on with the Video Pencil sharing at the moment on CueCam. So I'm just going to use it and show you the results. So I've got like some little, actually, let's see if we can spot where the ball is on this. So there's the ball. Ball's going that way, right? This guy's coming round. Maybe this guy wants to do something overhead, and maybe we're sort of dealing with something over here. But what we can also do is if I tap on him and scroll through, you see we can sort of like follow him along. If we put a number on him, right, that's going to sort of follow him around. And there's some issues with this, like if I put a number on someone that then like, you see it got transferred, so we're still some issues there with that. It's not perfect, but we're, I've got my little space tool working. Hey, there's some space here, and then he's gonna chip it across over here, and then number 93 and number, I'll make it so you can change the numbers and stuff. But this is kind of like where I'm up to with the football pack at the moment. So I think this is going to be quite good. Thanks, Philip. Philip says. That's amazing. We're getting there. I'm trying to avoid having to train. I truly know my football. I truly do not know any football tactics. What was I going to say? Sorry. I've been trying to avoid actually having to learn how to like actually having to train my own machine learning model because it does have to use like a 50 megabyte, sorry, machine learning model just to sort of track the player frames, but to actually kind of interpolate where they're going is I'm trying some different techniques to try and keep it lightweight, but I may end up having to do some training and getting some data sets and things like that. But I'm hoping that it's sort of like good enough to start with and we can sort of get to that in time once I can start testing it with real coaches. And I've sort of reached out for that as well. So hopefully that can come out in the next few weeks, maybe. I have also been trying out some freestyle content direct to my phone camera on TikTok, just walking through like green areas and with no script, just reacting to things. And I got 10,000 views on something the other day, but unfortunately it attracted all sorts of bot farms and troll comments, you know. So I've been dealing with that and sort of just like going, and it's something I've learned how to deal with for live streaming, but I've not really had in that way at that level with video comments before. So I have been dealing with that. But so let me know if you'd like a session on dealing with trolls, either in video comments or during live streams, because I'm pretty experienced with those. And it can be really tough when you're getting started out, putting yourself out there. And if you sort of attract the wrong people that start like trying to take you down, you know, you sort of have to learn how to, you know, how to sort of step back from that and how to like frustrate them. At the end of the day, you know, you can sort of you can frustrate them, and it can be pretty funny to toy with the trolls. So yeah, that's my that's the updates for the week. It's been sort of a little bit less of a week because we were traveling Friday, and then I lost like Monday, Tuesday, so not quite as much work as usual done. Um, but yeah, let's go over to this blog post from Seth Godin that I just saw it last night, and I was like, hey, hey, he's saying the thing. Right, so you're on a Zoom call. Someone says, is it okay if I share my screen? Here's what Seth thinks about that idea. The meeting is now broken. Even if you were actually engaging with the attendees before, it's over. You took a new medium and stuffed an old medium into it, changed the dynamic, and you ruined it. Zoom is a device, or let's say, we can call it a device, Seth, that eliminates physical distance and enables a synchronized conversation, interactions in real time. In particular, groups of 3 to 8 professionals there to have a discussion. Throwing your PowerPoint into the mix transforms the dynamic. It takes your face off the screen and it makes everyone else irrelevant. It forbids interaction and it prevents you from reacting to the room as it unfolds since it's so linear. The disrespect comes through even if you didn't intend it to. So, and then he sort of goes on to say, if you have something to show us, send it before the meeting. If there's a memo, we can read it in advance or afterward. In fact, if the memo is really important, simply pause the meeting while we all take 2 minutes to read it. We know how to read. Reading and interacting are two different events. Hi, John Ittleson from Washington, D.C. PowerPoint was invented by socially awkward engineers as a way to create deniability and clarity in boring tech meetings. It's a persistently misused piece of tech, sure is, used as a crutch or as an effective way to hide. So if you call a meeting, do the work to earn it. Make sure the right people are there, make sure you're prepared, and make sure they are too. Use any excuse you can to cancel the meeting and replace it with a memo, one that's short, clear, and designed to accept responsibility. There's another new medium that's arriving. Well-edited, short and punchy videos, a one-way method to carefully say what you wanted to say. Send one of those if you want. Show and tell has a long history of going back to first grade, if you want to use the American way. But if you are gonna show and tell, do it with care. So that's the blog post. As a socially awkward engineer, I endorse this message. But I think I just want to take it further because this has literally been the problem I've been working on for the last several years. So I think, like he says, don't stuff an old medium into a new one. Text is a little cursed, but we need to embrace the new one, right? Embrace the new medium. So Like, what does this new medium give us? What does this direct, interpersonal, real-time communication on Zoom actually give us, right? That is different, that is interesting, right? It gives you eye contact, right? We can talk to the camera directly. People can like see you. You can give everyone eye contact at the same time. That's kind of interesting, right? You can use a teleprompter. You can use that for notes, to sort of for clarity of expression, and to be really well prepared, as well as just getting that eye contact. You can see the other person in there. You have this potential for immersion. You can be part of your presentations, immersive slides, graphics, that kind of thing. You can bring in video and sound. Like, we can put anything we want into the camera feed. This is like a TV show if we want it to be. So why are we making it into a turgid PowerPoint presentation when we could make it into like a, sports broadcast, right? We can do drawing. So like, I can just jump in and go, okay, what about this? What do you think about option A, B, right? How many people are for one? How many for the other, right? We can actually start to bring things onto the webcam that, just wouldn't be able to do another way. And yeah, finally, you can bring a bit of joy. A little bit of magic sparkles if you want. Maybe you can also bring gimmicks. I like to think of I like to focus on things that I think have communication value, even when they are sparkly. So Zoom does more than eliminate physical distance as well, right? In my opinion, it's not just about eliminating physical distance. It's also about like no turning around, right? I went to university in the 90s, and the amount of time I spent looking at their back as they sort of drew stuff up on the blackboard, like where does this go? They'd be like that, and they'd pull down the blackboard and they'd draw, and you'd just be looking at their back the whole time, right? So that kind of sucks. Or even if you're in a room with someone and they're at the whiteboard, like now they've sort of got your back to, you're all sitting down, they're like up there. You've become disconnected. You don't have this problem of sort of crowding around a device, like, so you don't have like, three people sitting there trying to like look at the laptop screen or a phone screen, or like sort of airdropping it to each other. But best case scenario, you're not like crowding around a device anymore. And then, of course, like, you can record and broadcast these things. You're not confined to the people that are there, and you don't actually have to sort of implement any extra technology in order to be able to do this. Like, if you were, and I've helped with live streaming, like meetups and things, but it's a whole extra layer, right? You've got to have cameras and microphones, but with a Zoom call, like, you've already got your mics, you've already got your cameras. All you need to do is really like hit broadcast, and that's available to more people in the future. Um, so I think like you don't transform the dynamic by taking over the call, right? This is something you don't want to do. This is something he's really railing against here. As soon as you hit share my screen, suddenly everyone disappears, right? And I think it is rarely appropriate. I can't think of many scenarios where it is. Like, even like a sort of a hierarchical scenario, like a lecture with a lot of students. I think if you're not willing to interact on an equal footing, like webcam to full screen webcam, then you might as well just post a video, right? Maybe everyone's got their cameras turned off. Like, what is that even a Zoom call anymore? Is that just a live stream and they're just misusing Zoom? I don't know. Like, I think that's a different sort of thing. And there's really cool stuff you can do with live streams that is distinct from what you can do with Zoom. And I think there's some overlap between those two media, and I've brought some of that stuff from live streaming into CueCam. But I think it's rarely appropriate to just be like, everyone else shut up, right? And the other thing about once you don't rely on screen sharing is that everyone else can bring their own tools too. So everyone can bring their CueCam or eCam or like whatever they want to use to sort of improve their webcam feed. And we can be interacting more dynamically. Like, they can put a big like, yes, they can put, yes, I love that, like up on their webcam with Video Pencil. Or they can, just quickly screenshot what you did, paste that into CueCam and like write their notes. Oh, have you thought about, this bit of the map up here? What about here? Right. So it's I think it sort of just maintains the ability for everyone to bring their own tools, which disappears as soon as one person's in charge. Um, so I think another point I would add to this is I think people forget that they're on screen share when they get carried away talking, and that's just something else that really ruins it. Like they forget that they're still showing this full screen slide, and all anyone else can see is this thing, and their face is not even visible. So I just think that it's just another reason not to transform the dynamic as well. So Seth says, if you have something to show us, send it before the meeting. But well, I think sometimes that's appropriate, especially if it's kind of a bit more depth. But I think it's actually better to show it clearly during the meeting. And if you've got a well-edited, short and punchy video, then with CueCam, you can just show it, right, directly on camera. So if you had like this. Okay, right. So, but once you have got the video up, like you're not sort of waiting for someone. Once you're talking about it, now I can like scan through it, right? And people can say, "Oh, what did you mean by what did you mean by this point? What do you mean with like one button? When you're talking about this thing, what about this thing? What's this thing here, right?" We can also like once that's up, we can move it out of the way, right? I can be playing it, but I can also sort of get that out of the way while I kind of go into in depth and then just bring it back. And CueCam is thinking about all that stuff. So say I'd drawn around this and then I kind of came into a side, like you can see that the drawing is still on there. And when I bring it back, the drawing is still there, right? So I've been thinking about all of this, and I think that there's loads of stuff. We can even like zoom in and sort of like show this and that, right? So we can actually like really interact really nicely with that content in a way that just when you want to sort of take people through it, you can and answer questions. PowerPoint, Seth says, prevents you from reacting to the room as it unfolds since it's linear. And this is another thing I really wanted to cover. Because when I designed CueCam, this limit was very much at the front of my imagination because I'm a musician, right? And when you're a musician playing in a band, you mostly play the song, right? Like you've always got to know the song, but sometimes you want to cut loose and improvise or go off book or just bring on someone unexpected and do something different as part of a live show that sort of like you're in the moment and you just want to react to how it feels, how the audience is feeling, right? And that for me has defined the most memorable shows I've ever been to and that I've played as well. And it's something I've always aspired to enable through technology. And in fact, like you can look, I've got like a couple of decades of projects going back to like Director where I was trying to sort of create that linear sequence like set list thing for playing music but where I could sort of break out into loops essentially, which Ableton Live didn't give me. Logic certainly doesn't, and then you got things like Main Stage and things like that try and do it, but like they'll do one or the other, but they never really seem to manage to cross the two. And something like PowerPoint is very much straightforward. Something like Ecamm I think is very much like it's kind of the other side. It's all kind of real time, but there's no kind of like song sheet, right? So with CueCam you've got your set list, right? You've got your song sheet, you've got the things that you've got to cover, you've got your verse, you've got your chorus, and you've got your like one button go to the next thing. But when you want to answer a question or when you want to like react to something that's been that's going on, you've got your aside 3D, right? We can move it out of the way. Right, you've got your share bar. You can just sort of share a different camera. You can drag an image or a video. You can copy paste a picture, right, into there. You've got your slot, so you've got quick access to a couple of things. So you can still do that kind of scene thing that Ecamm gives you, but like it's a lot more like refined. Or you can like just jump to a particular card, jump back to where you were there, or jump down here, right? You can sort of jump around the deck or to a different deck, right? And it's all like seamless from the user side. They're not seeing you. When someone wants to change presentations during a screen share, you get to see them stop the presentation. Now you can see the whole presentation deck with all the thumbnails and all that horrible PowerPoint Chrome. Sorry, I'm seeing Tony's. I will try and. Tony did say, please talk about using CueCam in a hybrid event. Could you just like just define hybrid event for me as well? Just and I will. There might be some point I can cover there. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, you see them like and then you see them sort of go into file menu, open the different, and then you sort of see some of the cards before you were supposed to, and then they press play, and then it's full screen again, and now you're kind of like immersed in the presentation again. But like they can't really even switch to a different deck without the whole illusion being ruined, or like turning off the camera, mucking about, turning it back on again. Whereas CueCam is really designed for that kind of like a seamless presentation. So there's lots of ways you can react in real time, but then your presentation is waiting right there where you left it, so you can just jump back to where you were, no problem. So Seth says if you call a meeting, do the work to earn it. Make sure the right people are there. Make sure you're prepared, right? And that thing about preparation, I have never found it so easy to be prepared for a meeting, right? And I have in my career, I've always been quite good at being able to wing it. But those times when I tried to wing it and failed, and it was just, I've had some disasters where I've had like the company turned up to some presentation that I'd spent like 10 minutes preparing for, or like I hadn't really run through it. And then just everything that could go wrong went wrong. Because I was busy, I didn't have that much time to focus on it. So, but also like, I should have been prepared. But I just hated that process of preparing. So, CueCam, I love it. I don't know. It's just maybe it's just me. I think it's others as well. But like, it's just the right level of okay. Just throw a couple of things into a script, and then I've got something. I've got the things I needed to remind myself. It might as well go in a CueCam script as anywhere else. I could write it on a bit of paper. I could put it in a notes thing. But CueCam, I can stick it, and then I've got it on the camera as well. Like I can sort of see it there. And if I have some pictures, I can just like grab those, stick them on a couple of cards. So but with CueCam, like you don't even need to use a script. You can just collect a folder of clips and pictures to have ready. So, and that can be on your Mac, so just in Finder, or it can be on your iPad, even like in the media menu. So I've always got instant access to, this video of Harvey doing his weights. This is getting a bit old now that I can draw on. But I can grab that up, or I can just drag something on my Mac and sort of share that instantly as well. I've got like a folder here that's always to hand if I want to be like, hey, look, do you remember when Harry Kane used video pencil? I can always bring that straight up and get rid of it straight away, right? I don't have to like plan that in advance. Or if I wanted to bring that stuff together, I could just drag it in. Or if you do have a big presentation, you can really bring out the big guns, right? You can have your language really crystal clear. You can sort of go through it. You can, I mean, that teleprompter takes practice, right? There's no doubt about that. And you don't want to be stiffly reading from a teleprompter, but I think it's ultimately going to be an advantage. And so you can put as little or as much as you want in there. But sometimes I think you really, if there's numbers, if there's really clear language, just being able to say that directly into the camera is like, you're going to really, that's going to look good, right? And then you can embellish that with the immersive full screen text and graphics and some music and some video clips and everything you might want to use to support your message and tell a great story without ever disappearing from view or kicking everyone else out of the conversation. So that's how we go beyond what Seth is talking about, which is not misusing a medium, to using that medium to make something remarkable. And this is really what the point is with CueCam. So I'm going to push ahead. So Tony says, I was talking House of Worship. We're using PowerPoint in a totally virtual worship. A little frustrated. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same. I think you have your run of show, right? You have your, okay, first we have the sort of preliminaries, and then we have this, and then we have this, and you can have some graphics up in a CueCam deck and be sort of showing that in the main feed. And then, yeah, like you always have the potential to, I mean, if you have like a couple of different camera angles, you could be like, I mean, you could even use your normal switcher for that, sort of external to CueCam, and just like, okay, this is my camera in, but this is actually an ATEM, and I'm going to like cut to some different angles while there's singing happening or whatever. And then be able to just cut back to the run of show, in the CueCam script. So there's all sorts of, that's actually probably how I'd say to kind of mix those two things for a house of worship situation, is to sort of like let CueCam be the titles and the graphics and things, and then when you actually want to show cameras, just show one camera, show the ATEM input in CueCam, and just like manually switch it so that you're always catching the right thing, because you're never going to be able to automate that well. But yeah, so if you've got any more questions, I am I'm open to sort of responding. Any thoughts? Any limitations to this perspective? Because I'm always a bit cautious about going quite so hard on the subject because I don't want to upset anyone. But sometimes someone like someone else says it, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. So that's all I'm doing today, because I really do detest the whole screen share thing, and I think Seth really like explained it so well there. Philip says, I agree with everything you say. However, to me, Zoom is the limitation. So, in what senses would you call Zoom the limitation? Is it as opposed to like a different meeting software, or as opposed to a live stream or some other medium? Because I think Zoom's yeah, well, and we can use it Zoom interchangeably with other meeting software, of course, right? If I just share something on my camera feed, it'll be in my tiny preview window, and then the resolution won't be as crisp as the screen share. Yeah, but so Philip says, yeah, that there is a resolution problem, but you got to remember that um, not everyone's watching on their computer, right? So if someone is joining on their phone, then they're not going to be able to read that tiny text anyway. So I think you should always treat, if you're putting stuff on screen in a video call, you should always treat it as like 720p to be. Although I've kind of got used to 1080 at least on my Zoom, but I think you should sort of treat it as 720p, and because I don't think there's actually very often a need to go to that. I think you can zoom in. That's kind of how CueCam deals with that. Okay, sometimes you need to see something up close. Better to zoom in than ask people to squint at the right area. So I would say. Yeah, I'm just sort of reading the. Oh, John says. Oh, that was John. Sorry. Yeah, I used an iPhone in a Zoom call yesterday. People rarely do research in real time. I've become the IT guy. Yeah. So John's sort of saying something about I don't know what you mean about research, but yes. Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, obviously like Zoom has this like resolution in limitation, but I think you sort of have to take that for given that some people might be on a small screen, and I think it's like assuming like a high resolution thing is not necessarily compatible. I think maybe you sometimes like I think about the sort of default size I have the text in CueCam, and then I sort of watch TV and I see they've got like these little sort of captions that are like this big, and I'm like. And it's like America 2001, right? And it'll be kind of like that in the corner. I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't put that there. It's right behind. Let's sort of put it sort of down here. They have these subtitles that are so tiny, um, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should like go smaller. But I actually think like I think it's rarely the sports broadcast as well, they have it really small sometimes. But that's because people are watching on these big 1080p TVs most of the time, so they can do that. But I think the webcam and the computer and the Zoom conversations, I think you have to like dial it back a bit because they may be on a phone, they may be on a some other thing. Even though, so yes, and yeah, also yeah, with Zoom, it's funny like you. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, because I've sort of got used to I've started asking now, like, are we on the grid mode? Are we on the speaker mode? Like that's a kind of a strange thing. So I don't know if I don't know if I don't know, maybe John Ittleson knows something about can that be controlled? But yeah, there's lots of variables once you do get into the specifics of the meeting software. I do think Yeah, like I do tend to keep it on the sort of active speaker mode, and sometimes like I'll enable it because it won't highlight you, so you won't be able to see what you're showing. You'll just be able to see one other random person's face for ages, if it's a big call. So it's quite good to turn on the thing where where it kind of like highlights you on your own screen, so that you can sort of see what you're presenting while you're doing it. Um, yeah, so lots of pitfalls. Um, so yeah, I think this is, but yeah, overall, I think this has been quite an interesting thing to read, and it's something that I'm hoping to get Seth's ear. I don't know, maybe he'll notice because I know he's used eCam. He's like Neil told me he popped up in a on the Facebook group for eCam a while ago, and I do actually remember that happening. Sorry, I'm like previewing that. Can I yeah, I can't really. I'm gonna go back to here. Um, I know he's been an eCam user, and I'm just hoping, but I think eCam comes with a different set of problems, right? And I just think there's stuff you can do. And what I didn't mention was like the ability to actually create in real time a kind of snappy short form video is kind of one thing that that I would really like to make him aware of. Philip, I think that's a nice note to end on. I want Harry Kane and Seth Godin in our Discord. All right, and with that, how cool was that? Like, did you see how Philip's comment like moved? Oh no, I've gone back to the other. Oh no, I got greedy. Did you see how Philip's comment like stayed above the um the thing, and then when I get rid of it, it goes. That's because we are doing layout. Right, if you stay to the end, you get a discount code for your first CueCam payment, a little 20% treat. So if you hadn't tried CueCam before, grab it today. And you can do that. I'm going to expire these lab codes, by the way. I mean, obviously you can guess the next one, but it tells me which lab that you happen to watch and it liked. Um, so if you want to, oh dear, there's something I'm gonna actually be looking at the there's something I need to look at with how it jumps between docs. If you want to join me, Philip, John, Tony, and more on the Discord, along with I'm sure Harry Kane and Seth Godin in no time. We've got some interesting people there already, I think. Come over to squares.tv/discord, where I will usually be there to answer your questions and solve problems and uh, try not to panic that something's broken. But yeah, that's where we'll be. So thank you everyone for watching today. Oh man, it's been a tough couple of days. I hope I got through that. I hope I don't look too pale and sweaty. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. So take care.